Hi, my name is Kristen. This is my presentation for my research proposal. So I would like to do impulsivity in subclinical psychopathy and looking at if it's always dysfunctional, so using a mixed methods approach. So looking at the main issues, I would look at the subclinical traits of psychopathy, obviously, then the dimensions of impulsivity, so really flesh out what are the different facets of impulsivity, and then focusing on the notion of functional and dysfunctional impulsivity. So Dickman introduced this idea, and I think it's really interesting. It's basically thinking that there are sort of situations in which being impulsive can be a positive thing and lead to positive outcomes, which really challenges the ideas within the literature at the moment, which just automatically sort of suggests that if you're impulsive, then that's a bad thing. So it's a really interesting topic. So looking at measuring the psychopathic traits, I wouldn't use the Hare psychopathy checklist just because that's usually within a clinical setting. So I choose the Levinson self-report, basically because it's a measure that you can use on subclinical participants. You can generalise it to the general community, and it's brief, so it's ideal for sort of online surveys. So the PPI revised, which I have here, that's a self sort of report questionnaire as well, but it's 154 items. So for an online survey, it's not really ideal. So Dickman created the subscales to look at and measure functional versus dysfunctional impulsivity, but it's really been underutilized within the literature. So the notion is really kind of popular today. So there's a publication called The Good Psychopath's Guide to Success, and it's someone that's high in psychopathic traits but is highly functioning sort of within society, really successful, I guess, in their sort of life. So what is sort of missing is some psychological sort of studies and groundwork to sort of supplement what's being claimed within these kinds of publications. So dysfunctional impulsivity is the impulsivity that leads to negative consequences, which is what people usually think of when they think of impulsive traits. Functional impulsivity, on the other hand, is responses that sort of maybe sort of fast and spur of the moment, but they have positive consequences. So it kind of challenges that idea of what it means to be impulsive. So the traits of impulsivity are definitely linked to psychopathy within the literature. That sort of isn't sort of doubted at all, but more sort of research is required to sort of the part that impulsivity plays in psychopathy. So as I said, there's significant gaps within the research. So a call to sort of expand our understanding a little bit further. Just move that there. Gaps within the literature. Hopefully this will lay some groundwork for some future research endeavours. And I would sort of flesh out my understanding of what I'm trying to gather within this study. So do some quantitative sort of studies, but also flesh it out with some qualitative elements as well. So I would use a mixed methods approach. So administer online with the surveys, quantitative to assess, like using the scales. So Levinson scale for psychopathy measures, Dickman scale to measure whether impulsive traits are functional or dysfunctional. Then looking at the greater context of that. So looking at life satisfaction with the satisfaction with life scale to sort of get a bigger picture. So again, to kind of build on that understanding, I would use some qualitative sort of elements. So 1 to 2 questions that are text box limited. So it's keeping the study feasible because we don't want to be doing thematic analysis on pages and pages of text from someone that's answering these surveys. So it would keep it pretty easy. Feasibility, so getting through things like the literature review pretty quickly and recruitment through Facebook and Instagram. As I said, this would be significant due to the gaps within the current literature and lay some groundwork for future studies. So this is just a quote from the Psychopath's Guide to Success, just highlighting the traditional notions of what it means to be high in psychopathic traits. And then here are my references for the work that I have done. And that's it. So thank you very much.